1. Recently, our TGI Chili Bees has been having an issue with management turnover. Everyone is unhappy, but this most recent batch of managers seems to be the best by far, save one. I have 3 stories in 3 months, and I don't work that often. 1. Overheard her telling the buzzers to clock out before collecting tips and finishing up side work. I told her that's illegal. If they're required to be in the building, you're required to pay them. We got into an argument about it, and the buzzers thanked me for standing up for them. She heard that, and let them know nothing was going to change and they were still expected to clock out. 2. My best friend Sarah recently started working with me. Our new manager Erin came up to me the other day to have this conversation. "So you know your friend Sarah?" "Of course. I don't like her." "Oh, why not?" "Well, she works hard, but it seems like I ask her to do something and she'll forget about it. Or she'll try to stock things that are already stocked. Plus, she seems really unfocused." "Well, my best friend is ex-military. She has brain damage. She's on disability and everything. I honestly don't think she can change that, but I feel like she tries her best." "She doesn't have brain damage." "She does." To another manager, "Did you hear anything about Sarah having brain damage?" "Yeah, she tells everyone." I just walked away. The last story is a doozy and happened yesterday. Our restaurant is huge, so we always have food runners. For some reason on Friday night they decided to just have 2 of us. We have the most side work in the restaurant, and if we don't keep up with it, the whole place goes down. 2 of us were killing ourselves running food, but it was never ending. The servers are supposed to help. The managers are supposed to run around and tell them when we have a certain number of orders. Erin seems to believe that only the food runners should run food, and that's the only thing we should ever be doing. I think maybe the 30 servers, not an exaggeration, actually 30, currently working the floor could help us out a bit. Anyway, so halfway through the night, I've fallen far behind on side work. We're almost out of ketchup. We have no pasta spoons. There's dirty dishes on almost every surface, the bus tubs are full, and the floor is gross. Should take me about 10 minutes to knock all that out. One of the chefs, 12 on the line at that moment, asks if I can grab him a drink. Instead of grabbing just one, I run down the line and ask if anyone else wants anything. 7 drink orders later, I run over to grab cups, and Erin yells at me that I need to run food. I let her know that I will in just a minute. I've committed myself to these drinks. I run and grab more cups, and when I get back, she's standing in front of the drink station. "You're not allowed to get drinks for them right now. You need to run food." "Well, I already promised them I would. It'll take 2 minutes, and then I'll be running food again." "If you were a guest, what would you prefer? That the chef has a drink, or that you have your food?" "If we weren't arguing about this, they would already have their drinks, and I'd be running food again. Can you please let me do my job?" "Your job is to run food." "Okie dokie." "I'm so sorry, guys. Erin says I'm not allowed to get you the drinks I promised." "Come to the office now." "Okay." To the other runner, "Can you please get the drinks for the chefs?" So we head to the office. "You're trying to make me look like the bad guy. You can't tell the chefs that I'm not allowing you to get them drinks. You can get them drinks when it's slow." They can get their own drinks when it's slow. Getting them drinks every 2 hours during the rush is part of my listed responsibilities. Your only responsibility during the rush is to run food. I don't want you to do anything else. "Oh, really? Okay. I would love to try it your way." "Awesome, thank you. I'll get those drinks for the chefs." A little while later, the kitchen looks like a bomb dropped. It was already pretty awful, and I really needed to knock out my side work, but I just put on my blinders and focused on running food to the exclusion of everything else. After about an hour, Erin asks the other food runner to clean up the kitchen. I hadn't told him about Erin and I's conversation. but he just happened to say, "Sorry, I'm trying to run food right now." Edit. Food runner responsibilities according to the handbook. Fill ketchups, stock the line, sweep, brew all coffee and tea, keep counters clean, servers leave dishes lying around everywhere, get the drinks for the chefs every 2 hours during the rush, empty bus tubs, assist curbside to go with orders, run food, run bar drinks, run desserts. Food runner responsibilities according to Aaron. Run food. Sure would be nice if we could focus on running only all night. But we have to juggle everything. Servers, on the other hand, are limited to 4 table stations and have almost no side work. They don't even bus their own tables. There is no good reason why servers shouldn't be helping run food. Maybe instead of stopping me midway, she could have focused on getting us a little help. A more effective way to get your point across. I need you to run some food. I'll be there in a minute, just 1 minute. Hands out please, we need runners. I get the drinks, go back to running, then the shift slows down a bit. I feel like you weren't prioritizing the food when I needed you to. I'm sorry, I just felt like we were going to have to run full screen all night, and I need to catch up with my other responsibilities. I prefer that during the rush you focused on just running food and ignored your other responsibilities. Okay, I don't know if I agree, but I can try it. 2. When I worked at Chili's, I had a table one afternoon around 3 p.m. Slow afternoon, not too much going on. 3 of the most redneck-looking people I've ever seen in my life walk in. Mom, Dad, son. Dad was probably early 50s, grey, scruffy beard, and seriously was wearing overalls with a dingy white shirt underneath. Mom was not too bad as far as appearances go, but the son had one of those rat tails down his back. Anyway, this table was easily the worst I've ever had to deal with. Asking 8,000 questions, trying to get discounts for being disabled, claiming the prices were way too high. The lady had a salad which I brought out early for her, and I proceeded to get yelled at about. "Where's the rest of their food to go with it?" It had been 6 minutes, not joking, it had been 6 minutes. They start getting very irritated with me, to say the least. Immediately I go straight to our manager that was working and give him the rundown on the table from hell. Finally their food comes out at 12 minutes. At our store there are plastic ketchup bottles on the tables. I am standing about 10 feet from their table putting in an order on the computer. Then something hits the ground and slides over and hits my foot. I look down. It's the ketchup bottle that the kid had emptied on his fries. That was his way of telling me he needed more. The parents were laughing like the true pieces of human garbage that they were. I picked up the bottle, went over and told them that I'll grab them another bottle of ketchup. I don't think I hid my anger very well, to be completely honest. At this point I tell my manager about everything going on. He took his paperwork out to a table in the general vicinity of the trashy douchebags, and continued working from there. Finally they are done. The table is a disaster. There is not a crumb of food anywhere to be seen, just monster amounts of ketchup on all the plates still. I take them the check, and immediately the lady is questioning why it is so high. "What is this crispy chicken sandwich on here?" "Ma'am, that is what you just ate." She seriously asked me that question. She turns to her husband and asks if he has money. The second I heard him say no, I turned to make sure my manager was paying attention. He was. I leave to give them a minute to sort through the problem. When I return, they are already standing up with money on the table. I proceed to ask if there's anything else I can get them while picking up the money. They say nope, and start walking fast out of the restaurant. I count through it quickly, sure enough, short $11. Manager was already standing beside me and I hand it to him. He counts it and heads after them. Now, if you get any corporate management training at places, they will tell you to not follow anyone out of the restaurant. My manager doesn't give a crap. Walked out and yelled at them that they needed to come back and pay the rest of their bill. They tried to tell him it was all there when they left. He told them they were wrong. They proceeded to ask if he'd take a check. His response was something Chili's probably wouldn't be happy with, but as a server, I fucking love the guy. He yelled to them, "I'll cover it this time, but I never want to see any of you in my restaurant ever again." Might not seem like that big of a deal, but for a corporate manager to tell guests that is kind of unheard of. Manager comped the entire check and let me keep the cash as a tip for having to deal with such an awful table. It was mind-boggling the lack of respect those people had for anything. Had they never been in a public place before? 3. This incident occurred a few months back and ultimately made me quit. I'll give 2 paragraphs of background before telling the story. So I've been working on and off at different wine bars around my city whilst doing my SOM qualifications. You know the type. The shabby chic, basic Sex in the City chalkboard wine quotes, bad wine in fancy labels sold at an overprice, and the general upper middle class pretense art people who think they're the shit because they bought a bottle of $40 Riesling on a Thursday night. I love my colleagues and getting drunk with them after work, but I absolutely hated everything else about this place. Fuck the GM, fuck the Sioux, especially fuck the owner. He's perhaps the cheapest motherfucker I've ever come across in my entire life. Withholding paychecks, doing dangerous and illegal electrical installations to save a few $100s, and overworking his entire floor staff. He owns roughly 10 of these places around town and they're all absolute train wrecks to work in. But oh well, it paid my bills. The restaurant could in the summertime potentially seat 200 people at once. We were usually 9 people working nights. And 2 people working the lunch, because we were quiet for lunch. I'd been working here for about a year, which was long with their employee turnaround, averaging less than 6 months. And knew the place, the regulars, the wines, and what was up. It was a lazy lunch shift, and I was just doing some cleaning of fridges and shelves in the bar with a good colleague of mine, when our dictator-like misogynistic asshole owner, MAO for short, walked through the door. He'd be really picky about his table, our largest table, a tent-top in the middle of the restaurant. Was always left empty during lunch service for him, no matter what. He'd also expect us to just make him a double Americano in a latte cup whenever he walked through the door, and every staff member, no matter how busy we were, had to greet him in person. Well, he's always a nuisance, but he's our first and only guest this lunch. So, he can't make it too bad. He doesn't really answer our greetings and he's on the phone the entire time. And he only has time to eat half of his omelette before he leaves. That was easy, we thought to ourselves. Now I'm on good terms with the kitchen staff. A lot of them are cunts, but they're my cunts. And whenever there was any trouble, I'd always be the first waiter to know about it and deal with it. It's about 2 p.m. and lunch is closing soon. And I get called out to the dishwasher by one of the chefs, let's call him Gentle British Dude, who's standing next to Tattooed Swedish Guy, looking into some trays in the dishwater. I walk in and I can feel that something's completely wrong. Gentle British Dude tells me to go shut down the restaurant and put a notice on the door that we're closed for lunch. I tell him I can't do that, but he just lifts one of the lids on the trays. I look down into the tray and see it's absolutely fucking filled with maggots. Tattooed Swedish Guy tells me it's in 2 of their 4 fridges, and we can't do service. Obviously I comply and shut the restaurant. Now we're all standing in the bar looking at each other and talking the head chef, crunched up nihilistic tampon on speakerphone he didn't know he was, whilst listening to him telling Tattooed Swedish Guy to go fuck himself, run service, or he'll fire his ass. Tattooed Swedish Guy informs Crunched Up Nihilistic Tampon that doing so would be illegal and that he doesn't want to do it. But Crunched Up Nihilistic Tampon reminds him that he's contractually obligated to do so. Tattooed Swedish Guy says fine and hangs up the phone. Now although Gentle British Dude and Tattooed Swedish Guy were just told to run service, we had a party of 70 coming in that night without doing anything but throw out the food in that one tray. They didn't give a shit. They called in a few of their chef buddies, and together with the floor staff, I cleaned down the entire kitchen. They threw out all of the food and sterilized the entire kitchen. We continued to rush the mise en place through, all hands on deck, and did an absolutely stellar service. Then most of us emptied our lockers, lined up, and took turns calling the GM and quitting the shithole. We also informed crunched-up nihilistic Tampon and the GM that the maggots had come from the trash cans that the MAO had left in the backyard, since he was too cheap to order regular pickup from the dumpster drivers. We also mentioned this to our other restaurants who we shared a backyard with. These restaurants are now filing lawsuits against MAO. Walked past there yesterday and saw the GM running service with 7 new incompetent waiters. Huge lines, people shouting, and the place has dropped 0.7 in its TripAdvisor rating in just 2 months. Meanwhile, the rest of us got new jobs at 3 different places with better pays, hours, and we still hang out for after-service beers. Oh, and the best part? The only person who dined at the restaurant while there were still maggots in the kitchen was misogynistic asshole owner, who we now refer to as Special Spice. 4. So, this happened during my shift last night. Backstory. I'm a 24-year-old female, and I work in one of those restaurant chains where we serve food and drinks, while wearing short shorts and a crop top. Yes, our staff is filled with gorgeous women. No, we're not there to do anything other than serve you food and drinks, and carry on nice conversations as long as you aren't creepy enough to make us want to crawl out of our own skin. 95% of our customers are amazing. Most regulars are families with children, that we've become a part of watching them grow. Last night I had the pleasure of dealing with the other 5%, and wanted to skin myself alive. I had a table of 3 guys who clearly just got off work, doing some sort of construction. 2 of them were great and super friendly. The third was as well, until I was dropping off his check and credit card receipt. We'll call him Disgusting Husband. Here's how our departing conversation went. Alright, here's your card back. Thank you so much for coming in tonight. Come back and see us again soon.
Okay, little lady, so here's how this is gonna go down.
What's gonna go down?
My wife, she ain't happy no more. She's at home right now, but I think if I come home with you as a little surprise for the 2 of us, that might help turn things around. What time do you get off?
Shocked. Can't believe I'm actually being spoken to like this, and trying to keep my hands from throwing his half-empty water at his face. Excuse me?
What do you say? What time do you get off?
No thank you. I'm closing tonight, and after I get off, I'll be going home to my fiancée that I am happy with.
You can come watch.
Side note, I've worked in this kind of restaurant, different franchises and in different locations, on and off for a little over 4 years now. I'm used to being asked out, propositioned, getting numbers left on receipts, and even hotel keys with their room number. I'm not oversensitive, and I just normally ignore it. But for some reason this disgusting pig put me past the point of being able to contain myself. I don't think you'd like that too much. See, thing is, my fiancé loves me very much, and enjoys putting his hands on disrespectful pieces of shit that treat me this way. And has done so in front of me. So I think the only person who would be watching anything happen would be me. Watching something very fucked up happen to you that would probably land him in jail. And unlike your wife, I'm actually very happy with my relationship, and would hate to go back to it being long distance due to him being locked up, considering we already did the long distance thing while he served his time in the Marine Corps. I would be happy to call him and extend the invitation you've given us though, just for shits and gigs. Should I go grab my phone? Or would you like to get the fuck out of this restaurant, seeing that you've already paid your bill? He signed his receipt and walked away. I was mad, but I got over it quickly. I really just feel bad for that piece of shit's poor wife. 5. So on Thursday night, I had a table of 12 in my section for a 50th birthday. So pretty much all of my section, apart from a table or 2, no one would sit at. For a bit of background, in the restaurant I work in, no matter how big the party, you pretty much deal with the table by yourself, The only exception is taking the food out to the table, as it just sits on the pass and some dishes can get cold pretty quickly. Damn garlic bread. Or taking over birthday cake. Anyway, this table all orders wines, cocktails, beers and coffees, so quite a bit of work for the bar. I brought them over some jugs of water since their order would probably take about 5 to 10 minutes, as not one of them ordered the same drink as another, and all our drinks have to go out at the same time if they fit on the tray, because our manager is pernickety to say the least. Now as I was putting the water down, this old harpy, who looked like a cross between a burst beanbag and a coconut husk, starts shouting that they didn't order water, they weren't paying for this. It's free iced tap water.
No one ordered water, you stupid girl! Why don't they list—
The man whose birthday it was stopped her. Honestly, I was glad as I didn't even know how to react to her. To inform her that they did order water as there was a wait for the drinks. Thank heavens for this guy, as I generally haven't had an overly mean customer since I started in December. There was a couple of tables, but that's another story. Anyway, I take this table's order while their drinks are being prepped. 12 starters, along with 4 sharing starters for the table, along with 12 mains and 12 sides. A very large order with a rather large service charge to go with it. So I double cutlery them, giving a spoon to the old crow in case she struggled with eating her risotto with a fork, much to her resentment that I pointed out her antiquity. I mean, I didn't really, as we're meant to serve risotto with a spoon anyway, but hey, I took my slightly immature opportunity for a subtle quip. Anyway, I take the drinks out, all goes well. Apart from the table being a grab the drinks off the tray as I'm carrying it table. I grabbed it with my other hand in time and all was dandy. No one got soaked or scalded. The harpy's tea wasn't hot enough, so she obviously had a mini meltdown about that. I mean, her tea wasn't actually very hot as it had been sitting on the bar for about 10 minutes, but I didn't really want to agree with her, so just quietly replaced it with a new one. Starters come and go. Everyone is happy. I'm building a good rapport with the rest of the table. Even the harpy is starting to join in. The bottle of rosé she's now drunk is evidently raising her spirits. The table orders 4 bottles of Prosecco to accompany their mains. Each is opened at the table with a little hiss. Forever grateful to my sommelier friend, who bought lots of cheap Prosecco and put up with my slew of incompetent attempts, until I got the hang of it. Which actually earns me a compliment from Harpy, who, to be fair, is now becoming my favorite customer of all time, despite our rocky start. Followed by a quick,
"She's either very good at her job or a very classy alcoholic"
joke. Mains come and go. Desserts are ordered, which takes a while as there are 12 once again, made on the very tiny bar by one person. Some are mini desserts with hot drinks, which is an organizational nightmare. We take the desserts out then to do the whole happy birthday and candles spiel with his cake. Happy birthday, dear. Uncomfortable gap as I have no idea what his name is. Happy birthday to you. The table requests their bill, which is just shy of £450 by this point, and an added 10% service charge which we can't actually take off, as our system won't allow it. So a grand total of just under £500. I'm fully expecting them to spit the check at this point. But no, the guy celebrating his birthday pays the whole bill without even a bat of an eyelid. I have to add the service charge doesn't really go to me. I get around 7% of it, with the way our credit card tips get split. So the normal tip for good service in the UK is usually about 10%, which I wasn't expecting since it's such a large bill. But I was assuming they had left at least something, as the service was fantastic. Nothing like blowing your own horn? I clear the table and find they haven't left any tip at all, and to be honest, I felt like I'd been fleeced. Anyway, I finish my closing shift still feeling super salty about it. I start my shift the next day, and just as the lull between lunch and dinner starts, in strolls Mr. No-Tip from last night. He walks up to my manager and I can see him gesturing over to me as they talk, and all I can think is, great. He's probably here to complain about something from last night. I mean probably the service charge, as that is the most common complaint. I couldn't have been more wrong. He walked over to me, and told me he had never experienced such fantastic service anywhere else before, and he was grateful for making his birthday celebration so memorable. He pressed £20 into my hand, which is a big tip as most tables max out at £10, no matter what their bill, and apologized for forgetting to leave a tip last night. It is the first time I have ever had a customer come back to the restaurant to praise my work, and it completely made my month.
Hey everyone, Hellfreezer here, and welcome to this latest wondrous edition of Spinning Plates. Yes, so good, yes. Rather hard to stop doing that voice, don't you know? So much fun, so delightful.
But that being said, I'd like to thank everyone for allowing me to use their stories in this video. As it is the outro, I'll keep this short. Hope you guys are all having fun. I will be attempting to tidy up a junk room in my house. Not meant to be a junk room, it just kind of ended up that way. So I'll be getting most of that bagged for disposal, and the stuff that can't be easily thrown away I'll just kind of tidy up until I can get it picked up and tossed. Okay, and with that I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.